Hello, my name is Phoebe Randall, and I find it fascinating to see how the arts are evolving with changing technology. It seems almost hypocritical of us to demand faster, more robust machines in order to create something that we want to look like a watercolor painting. I mean, heck, I do the same thing. I can't even count how many Photoshop brushes, cough, cough, viruses, whoops, cough, I've downloaded in order to mimic a traditionally painted look in my artwork. John Lasseter, who is regarded as the father of 3D computer animation, remarked that art challenges technology, but technology inspires the art. The limits of what we can do with technology have been constantly challenged by the arts, as evinced by such creators as Leonardo da Vinci, who used art as a means of imagining what he could create in the real world. For example, after the plague ravaged Milan, he imagined an ideal city that utilized water canals and air ducts that would keep the water and air supplies clean. But while art makes us think about the possibilities for technology, technology in turn inspires the art, as Lasseter said. Now more than ever, we are experiencing a technological renaissance in the art world. Creative developers are making programs that allow users to draw, paint, sculpt, and animate using their computers. And artists are responding in turn by using these programs to create a whole new genre of art. Some drawing and painting programs include Microsoft Paint, Fire Alpaca, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe Photoshop, in addition to many others. The term digital artist is used to describe artists who primarily work in this medium. The digital arts community has been steadily growing since the inception of these applications, through social media sites such as DeviantArt, Tumblr, Instagram, and the like. Another factor that played into this genre's rise in popularity was the invention of peripheral devices used to draw, such as Wacom drawing tablets and personal tablets like the iPad or the Surface Pro.
I can't even imagine how those artists did it on trackpads before. Jeez, that is a talent.
Within this community, there are a plethora of artistic styles that have developed. The benefit of digital art is the enhanced ability of the user to create clean lines and precise colors. One can focus more on small details than possible with traditional art, because he or she is able to zoom in and alter individual pixels as needed. Because of this, artistic styles in the digital community have a tendency to be clean and polished, unlike the handmade, textured look of traditional artwork. However, a subsection of this community is made up of artists who utilize these applications and devices in order to mimic the look of traditional artwork. For example, one of my favorite artists, Alice X. Zhang, utilizes Photoshop to create work that looks like it was made using oil paints. James Jean, another fantabulous artist,
Who I wish I could absorb his talent,
was trained in traditional oil painting, and he sketches out the image in pencil and paper and then paints the colors in Photoshop afterward. All the while, he keeps in mind the texture of the brushes that he uses when he paints on canvas, and uses that information in his digital painting. In the world of three-dimensional artwork, there are programs such as ZBrush, Autodesk Maya, Mudbox, Blender, etc. that artists use to sculpt 3D objects and characters to either print or turn into animation. 3D printing has been especially relevant recently, as it presents a more precise way of rendering 3D objects in the real world. For example, Michaela Jans van Vuren, who has a PhD in electrical engineering, creates beautiful sculptures with functionality as well as aesthetics in mind. She carefully plans out how the object is going to look, its dimensions, and how it will move on paper, and then translates that design into a 3D computer space. Once it's complete, she sends the file off to a 3D printer to be rendered in the real world. As I mentioned before, these 3D sculptures are not only printed, but also used in animation for video games, film, and television. There has been a softly spoken debate between animators and animation aficionados over the merits of 3D animation versus hand-drawn 2D animation. Before I get into that though, I'd like to define these mediums within the context of my discussion to avoid any confusion. By 3D animation, I mean computer-generated images used to animate a film or a TV series to its completion, like Pixar and recent Disney films such as Tangled or Big Hero 6. Unfortunately, I'm not including photorealistic uses of 3D animation such as special effects or stop-motion animation under this umbrella term. For 2D, I mean animation in which the artist draws the frames by hand, most likely in a drawing program since this is 2017 and we live inside computers. From what I have found, people who appreciate computer-generated animation over 2D do so because they love the clean, rich textures and the smooth, carefully calculated animation. Also, 3D animation has the ability to tackle photorealism more efficiently than 2D, making it more believable to an audience. And I mean, Pixar. enough said. Conversely, fans of 2D animation appreciate the character intrinsic in hand-drawn frames. From the mastery of human form exhibited by animators such as Glenn Keane and Hayao Miyazaki, to the exaggeration of character movements, like in this scene from Animatrix. And even down to the mistakes made, because gosh oh golly, we are only human. "2D animation is unique to say the least. Whatever you might prefer, unfortunately, artistic taste doesn't play into market demands. Thank you, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Video, etc., etc. I love your streaming sites. I love you, Crunchyroll. Ha! Don't go away. But you've made things very difficult. And thus, more traditional production methods have had to adjust with the times. One of the benefits of a 3D animation workflow is that it is all upfront. The characters are modeled, textured, rigged, and then animated. Since the character can be imported into any 3D modeled set, it can be reusable along with other assets. It's like having an actor at your disposal who you can call the set whenever you need. This is unlike 2D animation, where the characters have to be redrawn for every single frame. This can get tedious, and it is more time-consuming in the long run. So, when thinking about, say, developing a TV series, it may seem as though 3D animation might be more practical simply because you can take the characters and reuse them in different settings, fit for your structure of your story. Because of this, those who favor the look of 2D animation but want to have the efficiency of 3D animation are trying to combine the two. John Lasseter and Glenn Keane actually were some of the first people to test out the combination of these mediums. In Beauty and the Beast, for instance, many of the scenes featured backgrounds and assets that were modeled in 3D, with hand-drawn characters on top of every frame. If you know where to look, this contrast between 2D and 3D is a bit stark. However, now we have improved this technology. Take a look at Makoto Shinkai's Your Name, which utilizes 2D and 3D animation. The animators used the 3ds Max plugin PSoft Pencil Plus in order to make the background elements look like they were hand-drawn, and they work beautifully together. Taking this idea a step further, one of the most well-known examples of 3D animation looking believably hand-drawn is the Disney animated short Paperman. In order to create this film, the animators first modeled, rigged, animated, and rendered the entire work in 3D, keeping the textures to a basic vector-shaded level. After that, they traced over the keyframes using a specialized 2D drawing program that used vector lines to extrapolate the in-between frames for the animators. It basically eliminated the need to have in-between artists because it acted the way a 3D program would, by predicting what the in-between frames were. Well, fudge buckets, how am I gonna get an entry-level animation job, preferably in Cartoon Network, so I can become best friends with Rebecca Sugar and maybe marry her now? Anyway, the reason why this is such a big deal is because people hadn't tried to do this before. This short film brought to light the idea that we don't have to let go of a hand-drawn feeling in animation because it isn't efficient enough to keep up with the market. Who knows, in the future maybe we could even have more advanced texturing technology in 3D programs to allow us to completely make our characters look like they were hand-drawn without actually having the extra step of drawing over them again. This illustrates the desire that some artists have to create work with modern technology that looks like it was made with a simple pencil and paper. I mean, to think that these animators basically animated the entire short film twice using different animation methods and then bridged the two together. Now that's dedication. Why do we want to make things look handmade? Maybe it feels more personal, like we're getting in touch with the artist behind the work. Maybe it's simply a shortcut to make one's work more visually interesting without having to draw too many details. Been there, done that. I have a paper texture saved to my desktop just for that reason. Or maybe it's just the result of overstimulation from technology constantly sending us a virtual tap on the shoulder, like a coworker breathing down your neck, or a mystic messenger pestering you to talk with your fictional hot Korean boy toy, or a friend who's overly excited to share with you a thing, but you just spent all day talking to people and could really give a rat's butthole with the latest juicy meme to hit the interwebs is right this second, so whenever we just stop and give me a chance to breathe a moment, or do some yoga or something it's supposed to be soothing. Okay. So maybe all of this desire for traditional artwork is like the effect of a cleansing succulent on your coffee table. Yes, I'm hipster, don't judge me. It brings us to a simpler time and place outside of our hectic lives. It evokes the feeling of standing in front of the same painting in a museum for an hour, 2 hours, being absorbed into its world without a care in the world except for what The zip is in that window. Either that, or it's just artists throwing their middle fingers in the air at the establishment once again. You thought they painted you a pretty watercolor painting. Think again, it's pixels! Lol, bye, scrubs, I'm out! I'm done. Okay, that was too memey. That was, oh, I'm a meme. I'm sorry. I'm gonna go now. Bye.